What is up, everybody? My name is Justin. This is Forever Self-Employed, as well as Chris, the Striping Guys channel. Chris is actually live for the first time, so if you guys haven't already, hit the thumbs up button for us. Chris, how's it going, man?
It's going good, Justin. How's everything going?
It's going good. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to make $7,000 a day parking lot striping. This is only for professionals, right? Like, in the beginning of your business, you will probably not be able to do a $7,000 parking lot striping job. But in this video, we're going to be breaking down all the aspects of it, how Chris landed it, how Chris quoted it, the problems that he had on it, how he's able to remain so efficient that he's able to make so much money doing this service, and maybe any upsells that he had as well. So we're going to cover every single facet of this job. If you guys haven't already considered parking lot striping as an add-on service to your current business, you guys need to check out the first link in the comment section and the description. That is going to be to the How to Stripe course. In it, we go over 8 hours of information, everything you guys need to know, from how to price the job, lead generation, the pro tips, property protection, as well as the equipment and everything else you need to know in order to get your business off the ground with regards to parking lot striping. A ton of guys have taken this course. A ton of guys have had a lot of success with it. More recently, one guy actually did $150,000 with the information that Chris teaches within the marketing section of this course. So pretty great stuff. Chris, anything you want to mention with regards to, the training, anything you can get from it?
Yeah, the training is phenomenal. We were super excited, as you know, because you helped me build it to get this into people's hands, not only as a business startup for somebody that was entertaining the idea of starting a business, but even as a add-on service. I mean, because you already do pressure washing. And then, as you mentioned in your videos, when you added parking lot striping, it was able to help you double your average ticket price. So having this service available to you, whether you're just getting into the industry or you run an existing business like pressure washing, adding this service to your business is going to help you make more money in the long run. And we were super excited in developing it. Now, since we have set the program out and people are starting to enter into the program, we're starting to get to that phase where we're starting to see testimonials coming in about people that are experiencing success. And we're super excited to be able to share that.
Absolutely. If you guys are interested in some in-person training, we'll also have links below for in-person training. You guys can come out with Chris, do some jobs with him, shadow him, and by the end of the training, you're actually the one doing the job. So between the How to Stripe course and the in-person training, we got you covered on every single front for you guys to get started with striping in your business and adding it as a service. So Chris, with all that out of the way, we're going to jump right into this one, you guys. Quote IQ is $1 right now. In this video, we're going to take a look at this job using the Quote IQ map measurement tool. We're going to take a look at, all the facets of this job. But Chris, first and foremost, you want to start off by just telling us how you got this one and how it came into the business?
Yeah, initially when we got this call, it came in off of our GMB profile listing, and the customer called because we were the highest ranked company on Google. When we got the call, we went to the property. I walked the property with the site supervisor. It was pretty intense. The striping wasn't too complicated, but it was the exterior stenciling and line grinding, which was the most difficult part. So initially, whenever we added on the ticket for the striping, he wanted some line grinding as well. And really, to be honest with you, I didn't even want the job. The guy seemed like he was going to be a difficult customer. We'd walk the site and he would point and say, I want this done. I want this done. We don't want this done. And we spent probably 20 minutes of him just talking about what he wanted done. And by the time I got back to the truck, I thought, man, I don't even want to fool with this job. Of course, I didn't want to tell him that we were so busy we couldn't get to it. Then what I did was I just sat down at my desk and then just sent him a skyrocket price. I mean, the price was enormous because I didn't want to fool with it. Well, a couple weeks later, I get a notification on my phone through my Quote IQ app that they accepted the job. And which I was shocked. I mean, I was blown away. I didn't want to fool with it in the first place, but I went so high. They accepted it. They called me. We set up a day to schedule it. And then we went out there and striped the job.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So, what you guys are seeing on the screen is actually Chris at the job. One thing I kind of want to walk through is everything that you quoted, Chris, and everything that he asked you to quote. So, we're gonna swap the view over here to this one. So, as you guys can see, I mean, like, there's a ton of like lines everywhere within here. There's probably a lot of stenciling. So, Chris, from this view, can you kind of walk us through some of the stuff that they wanted to get done?
Yeah, of course. If you look on the property, there was just a 4-inch wide line. As we start on the exterior, there was a 4-inch wide line on the outside of the property that divided the yard from the equipment. And then contained within the equipment yard around that big yellow box on the exterior of the property, there were certain sections of the equipment. So when they had equipment that was down for repair, for example, we would stripe a down for repair stencil. And then there would be certain areas that are rent ready. That would let them know that to the customers who came, this was the equipment that was ready to rent. And then we had the exterior as well. But then, as you're marking right there, some interior striping, and it was a pretty big job, but I know that I overpriced it, but it was a big job. But with the lines and the stenciling, it was pretty significant for sure.
No, absolutely. And I'm just kind of playing around here. This is the beautiful thing about Quote IQ is you can actually measure out all these lines and kind of get, how long they are linear foot wise. And that's one of the ways that, you quote Chris and you break that down within the How to Stripe course is basically like quoting all these linear lines by a linear foot price. So I want to get into the stuff that you didn't want to do because I think that's some of the most interesting stuff. So they needed some lines removed. Where do they need to be removed from? Why do they need to be removed? And kind of what's the protocol along the lines of how to do that?
Well, if you go over to the east side of the property, you're going to see that second stop bar right there. Yes. And then if you zoom in just a little bit, that's where we're going to see that hook right there, that kind of U shape. That was a line for semi trucks to turn. And the problem that the customer was having was the fact that when a semi truck pulls out of that line going south, an 18 wheeler is not going to be able to do a U turn right there. Essentially, what it was a safety concern. It was a safety hazard. I firmly believe that's one of the reasons why they picked us. They picked us not only because we're ranked #1 on Google, and we teach guys how to optimize a GMB profile for maximum results in the How to Stripe course to rank you #1 to get big jobs like this. But number two, since it was a safety hazard, he didn't want people to do U-turns anymore. So we had to adjust that line to where it just went the same exact kind of angle, but turning to the left in a curved area west of that entrance. So since it was a safety concern for him and he had to get it done, he went with us not because we're the highest, but because it was a safety concern.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So there was some removal of some lines, Chris. There was some stenciling. Other than was the removal of the lines the biggest reason why you didn't necessarily want to take on this job or what?
Yeah, I just didn't want to fool with it. I don't have a scarifier, and it's not that the equipment is pretty expensive. I know people that do it. I mean, I called a friend of mine, and he came out right away, grinded up the lines. So it wasn't like we couldn't get it done, but it was just you need to have a vacuum, OSHA regulations. I mean, when you're grinding that up, the dust is there. And I told the customer that I said, if OSHA comes out here and we don't have the proper PPE on the site, we could get in trouble. And they said, don't worry about it. We still want to grind it, because I tried to just get it where we could just kind of black it out, but they wanted to grind it up. They were willing to pay that money to grind it up. And I was willing to charge them.
Absolutely. So, we got a comment in here, and it's kind of funny. This comment says 7K a day is a flat lie, and so maybe Zinc has never made that kind of money before. But the biggest thing is the funniest part about this is you quoted it really high because it was something that you didn't want, and the detachment from not wanting it actually, I think, led you to landing the job. So, Chris, you want to speak a little bit about that? Because in some cases, there's jobs that we want so bad, right? And it's almost like that attachment to getting the job is the reason that we don't get it. And in this case, it was kind of the opposite. So, what would you have charged us at if you wanted to get it? And then, do you think that kind of played a role, the fact that you did not want it and you getting it?
Well, first, that's a great question. First, let me address what the comment said. 7K a day is a flat lie. I will tell you this, that it's not a lie. I didn't want the job to begin with. I mean, I'm telling you, I mean, what we get calls like this all day long. When you're ranked within the top 3 on Google for your particular service listing, your phone goes off all the time. And when your phone is constantly going off and you're generating organic traffic coming to you where you're not having to go out and look and generate these leads, but these leads are coming to you, then you're able to charge what you want, accept what you want, decline what you want. And in this case, I just shot it so high to where I didn't think that they would accept it. And I remember before I first got started, I was just like that guy who just made that comment. I would come across videos of people and they were talking about, matter of fact, it was a video that you made. It was a video that you made, and it was titled "How to Make 5K a Day Parking Lot Striping." When I first, I know we're doing a live on a video subject, but I believe this is important for people who are skeptics. When I first entertained the idea of getting into this industry, it was a video that you made that I came across whenever I was working my full-time job. I thought, there's no way. It's impossible. He's got to be lying. Well, I seen that video a couple times. And about the third time that I seen that video, I thought, man, you know what? If they can make 5K a day striping, I can make it too. And so whenever I started, I mean, I can remember the first time I made 5K a day. And, today we made, or that day, whenever I did it, we made 7K that day. So, but yeah, the detachment. And that's something that you say as well that really kind of taught me something was, sell like you don't necessarily need it. And when you operate out of the position of desperation, when you operate from the position of desperation, it minimizes your authority in the perception of the customer. And so we want to always, as service providers, position ourselves in such a way in the eyes of the customer, whereas they feel as if they need our service and not as if we need their business. Because at the end of the day, a commodity is worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. So if you're willing to pay $3.10 for a gallon of gas, you're going to pay that. Well, if our government raises the price to $8 a gallon for gas, guess who's going to pay for it? You are. So a commodity is worth whatever someone's willing to pay for it. And in this particular case, this customer was willing to pay $7,000 for our service.
Absolutely. But your detachment played a big role in that, I think, and the fact that you didn't want it. Because it's kind of paradoxical, right? The jobs that we don't want, we end up getting. And it's because we don't want them, right? So we talked a little bit about how you landed it, Chris. I want to go into some pricing aspects. But before we do, as people on the screen can see, obviously it looks like you're doing some coaching up here. This was a recent hire for your company. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you bring on employees, how you coach them up, and everything else that kind of goes along with that?
Sure. Yeah. It's essentially, it's the same exact way we do with in-person training. I throw them on a machine. And as you can see, he's fixing to make a mistake here in this video. I throw them on a machine. They're nervous whenever they're first starting. Whenever I bring people on, of course, I walk them through the process, make sure that everything as far as operation is concerned is consistent. But initially I just throw them on a machine, and they're not prepared. They're not expecting it. And what happens is it forces them in the moment. There's a psychological aspect to it where it forces intense concentration. Remember, like the first time you ever drove a car, or the second or the third time, you know what I mean? And now, you used to drive 10 and 2, but now you drive with one hand, and you just subconsciously just operate that way. Here he goes. Mess up. See that? So he messed up on it. Of course, I made him scratch that up and clean it up. But what I'm saying is they have to experience mistakes like that if they're going to get better. So, of course, I go over there and I'm talking to him and I take the machine after this. But, throwing them in the line of fire is how you're going to get them better.
Okay, absolutely. Another thing that you just mentioned, Chris, you made him clean it up. I think there's a lot to be said about when you make those mistakes, having to fix them afterwards, because then it kind of sticks out into our mind like, hey, we don't want to let that happen again. So if you guys are interested in actually doing some in-person training with Chris, like I said, there's a link down below. That's one of the biggest pieces, right? You actually get to hold the machine. You get to stripe the line. And so, in the case of our buddy Zink here said 7K a day is a flat out lie. It's like, yes, it's a lie if you are someone who doesn't have a business, who's never done a striping job before, who doesn't have the proper equipment to make it happen. And those are all the things that we're going to be getting into in today's video, because as you guys are going to see, like, this is replicatable. Like you can do this over and over again. And that's what Chris does week in and week out. So Chris, I want to change gears here. I want to go back to this screenshot here. For anybody who doesn't know, we're using Quote IQ. You guys can try Quote IQ for $1 at myquoteiq.com. It'll be linked down below. But let's kind of walk through this quote, if you will, Chris. Like obviously, we don't have to quote every facet of it, but can we kind of touch on some of the most important things?
Sure. Yeah. Well, when you're quoting jobs, there are two ways to quote. Either you can quote by your linear feet measurement, how long the lines are, fire lane, striping, handicap boxes, so on and so forth. And that is one way to do it. And that's a good way to do it, especially on larger projects like this. And then there's also time and then the cost. So your mobilization cost. So what I did is I kind of factored in both, because on this, we kind of charged a pretty significant amount just to do it. And also the line grinding itself was $1,000. So the striping and the paint costs and all that factored in too, but it goes all the way around this property. And the stencils were all the way around it as well.
And Chris, for anybody who doesn't know what mobilization costs are, can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Your mobilization cost is going to be initially what it's going to take for you to, in a sense, pursue the job, right? Because if it's a dentist office with 6 lines, obviously we're not going to do a dentist office with 6 lines on a linear feet basis, because if we were doing, let's say, $1 a foot and there's 5 lines and then we're charging $18 to $20 a foot, you know what I mean? We're looking at like $120, including paint costs. You're paying your labor. It's going to take you an hour to set up the trailer. It's going to take you 10 minutes to drive there, an hour to drive back. And so we factor in our mobilization cost, as in how long is it going to take me to get the job done, and what is my time worth. And I can remember whenever I worked a full-time job, my time was worth what my employer was able to pay me. So back in them days, I had to work all those jobs just to make ends meet. My time was worth $16 an hour. My time was worth $20 an hour. But as you grow, your time becomes more valuable. So my mobilization cost is essentially the valuable aspect of my time.
Okay, excellent. So in pressure washing, we kind of refer to it as a minimum pricing. So you guys would know, like, we don't go out and do a job for less than $250. So completely agree. And then mobilization, obviously, that's the cost to get the truck running, the cost to get the supplies ready, the cost to get out there, drive to the property, get everything out. So absolutely, mobilization cost is a great thing to fit in here. So we had the mobilization cost, we had the cost of removing the lines, we had the cost of the stenciling, and then did you come through, Chris, and you measured out all the linear footage on this property and then multiplied it out times whatever your rate is?
Man, I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I didn't. We literally just walked that property, and I knew. I mean, it's just a 4-inch line around that. You know what I mean? It doesn't take nothing. The hard part was the stenciling. It didn't take us nothing to walk around that property, running the striper. I didn't even factor in linear feet or anything. Once you get to that point, you'll get to that point, you know what I mean, as you progress and do this longer and longer, where you'll walk out on the job site and you'll go, okay, this is going to cost me this much in paint. This is going to cost me this much in labor. This is going to cost me this much in my time. What am I willing to generate off of cost of labor, cost of time, cost of materials? And then at the end of the day, my profitability aspect in that is what is running through my mind. So whenever I was on this property with this property owner, that's what I was factoring in. I didn't even sit down and measure this off of, you know what I mean? Because I like I said, I went so high, I didn't even think I was going to get it.
So, right, it kind of speaks to the fact that you really did not want to land this job. Like you didn't even, because I mean, typically, Chris, like, we in the How to Stripe course, which is linked below, we kind of go through all the different facets of everything that you do with regards to putting together your estimate and putting together all these marketing pieces that you actually send to the owner of the company. And this job doesn't seem like it had any of it. There was no measuring, there was no pulling anything. So did you kind of, like, obviously you've been doing this for a while, so you can kind of feel into it a little bit more than somebody who's just getting started. But it sounds like 7K was just like, that seems a bit what I would need to make in order to do this job. And that's what you went with, right?
It seems just unrealistic. You know what I mean? It just, that's the reason why I did it. But see, this is a Fortune 500 company. that we're looking at, right? Like this isn't like a mom and pop barber shop or a small business owner that runs a barbecue stand or something like that. Like this is a Fortune 500 company. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. So it's not one of those things where they have to run things through chains of command. I mean, whenever I went to go build them, I found out that the person who runs the entire site, I mean, had an unlimited credit card limit, right? I learned that whenever I went to go build them and I'm like, hey, we're done for the day. They were like, well, you know, it exceeds my credit card limit, but so-and-so will be back tomorrow. Just talk to her and she has an unlimited credit card limit. She can just run it through her card. No big deal. So the way that I was, the way that I was perceiving my interaction with these customers was the fact that money wasn't a problem with them. You know, so they were a little bit tedious in what they wanted done. But at the end of the day, when we got there and started striping, they had moved a lot of the containers around on the yard. So we actually had to do less
Mm.
than what we originally quoted, but still made a lot more.
This is the beautiful thing, right? This is the beautiful thing about having the right lead flow into your company. When you have big companies giving you a call, like this is what I talk about all the time on my channel, Chris, is like people are always saying, "Oh, well, these people won't accept my prices," or, you know, "I can't charge what I need to charge." Well, it's because you're not getting in front of the people that you need to get in front of. Like Chris, you just said, this is a Fortune 500 company. The guy with the no credit card limit was out to lunch. He'll be back in a little bit. It's like when you get to these types of customers, they want the job done. They want it done right. They want it done fast, and they're willing to pay not any price, but they're willing to pay good money to get that done. And when you know how to get in front of this type of person, it's invaluable, right, Chris? So because you're going to easily be able to leverage this relationship into, you know, more work for them in the future. I'm sure that they probably own some other properties, right?
Yes, 100%. And this is the beautiful thing about it, because they picked us as a result of our social proof that we have as far as marketing ourselves as a reputable company. I mean, I position myself in such a way to where in the eyes of this customer, they're looking at me as the subject matter expert. You know, I'm not going and presenting myself as this I'm not going to present myself to this customer as like this needy business owner who's just trying to make a couple bucks so he can, I mean, I'm positioning myself in such a way to where I want that I want them to know that I don't need this. Not I'm not coming off in like an arrogant way, or I'm not being rude or mean, or but it's just, hey, you know, we'll get you a price in a couple days whenever we get to it. And you know, because it was a headache job. You know, it was a headache job. And I thought, let me take it back. I thought it was going to be a headache job because of my interaction with them. But whenever we got there and then striped the job, we did it super quick, and we made a lot of money doing it.
Right. It's a completely different perspective, right? It's going from, you know, being hungry to we could take it or leave it. And that's ultimately when you end up getting the job. So beautiful. Chris, when you guys can actually see this. He's actually fixing the mistake on the screen, right? The mistake that he had made earlier. So which is important because he probably won't make it again, right, Chris? He's going to be a lot more mindful now that he's had to correct the mistake. So anyway, that was a previous point. But anything else, Chris, that we want to mention with regards to the pricing on this property? Obviously, we don't really talk about removal of lines too much as an upsell. I guess in the event of these people, like you said, it was kind of a safety hazard. They have to have it done. Anything else with regards to pricing that we want to mention on this job?
Yeah, there were the stencils as well. I mean, I had to order custom stencils for this particular customer. And since I had to order custom stencils, I mean, there were supply costs that were factored in. And since there were those supply costs, and we had to get paid, we had to get the custom stencils. I had to pay people. I mean, originally, like you just see myself and my brother on the job site, but I called two more people on the job site to come and help us because he was trying to wrap it up by a certain time and it was his day off. And you don't see it in this video, but I called two more people to help us. And by the end of this job, we got four people out there working. And
Right.
it just, we were able to power through it.
I want to get into job costs here in just a second, but maybe we could talk to before we get into that kind of the biggest obstacle. What would you say the biggest obstacle on a $7,000 job is that maybe people wouldn't know that would, never get into a situation like this where they could get a job like that?
Well, let me approach this question by two different frameworks. The biggest obstacle for someone who's watching a video like this right now is not believing that it's possible first. Like that's the first biggest obstacle. And until you're able to create the possibility, then you're not going to believe that it's possible. But first, in order to create, you must then envision. And when you envision, you're able to create. So from the perspective of somebody who doesn't think it's possible, that would be the first aspect, is it really being possible. From a business owner perspective, the biggest difficulty was the fact that my other machine was broken down. I had another machine on this job site. It was our 3500, but the 3400 broke down. I'm still repairing a piston, but we've just been so busy I haven't been able to get to it. And I really need to get in the shop and get it taken care of. It's just when you got jobs and you're cranking out jobs and you're just getting stuff done, it's almost like you'll be able to get to that later. So from a business owner perspective, one of the most difficult things was having one of our machines broken down. There are two machines on this job site right now, but another one is broken down. So if we had multiple machines running, like 3 machines running at this one time, it would have made this process go a whole lot faster.
Okay, beautiful. And that was another one of my questions for you, Chris, is what equipment do we need in order to actually do a job like this? So you have 3 machines. If you wouldn't have had 2, obviously it would have been a worse situation. But what does it look like? What type of machines do we need? How many do we need? What does all that look like?
Well, let me say this too, because this most definitely is a possibility. Um, this machine or this job could have been done without a machine. And I say it all the time because like there's this misconception that people have, like this barrier to entry that like if I don't have an expensive machine, then I can't get started. That's one of the things we teach within the How to Stripe course, how to get started without a machine. Or if you want to purchase a used machine, how to identify characteristic traits in that machine, even though it's used, that's going to help you get started, though you might not have an expensive budget to get started with. But for this particular job, we have the Graco 3900 and the Titan 3500. A Titan 3500 is about $6,000. These machines right here run about 9 to 10 grand, but there was a company that gave me a significant discount if I came to their open house. So they reached out and said, "Hey, can you come to our open house? We'll give you a discount on a striping machine." They charged me 8 grand for this brand new Graco, and the offer was too good that I couldn't pass it up. So I went, showed my face at this event, and got that 3900.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's called leveraging relationships, by the way, because for anybody watching this, in order to have a successful business, you need to know how to leverage your relationships. You need to know how to meet people and talk to them, and just take advantage of every single aspect that you possibly can with regards to making your business successful, especially early on. So, biggest obstacles, Chris. Obviously, you said you had a machine down, and this wasn't a job that you wanted to do. I want to get into some of the job costs, right? It's one thing to talk about, we made $7,000 on this job. It's another thing to talk about, okay, what was the labor? What was the paint? What were all these different types of things? So can we talk a little bit about some of that?
100%. Our cost to do the line grinding was, here, let me look. It was $1,000 for the line grinding. We used 15 gallons of paint. We get our paint right at $100. So let's just say 90, 180. So let's just say 300 for paint cost. And then initially it was just going to be my little brother and I in the field, but we ran into time constraints. So the manager asked if we could hurry up. Then that's when I called 2 more people. I paid all 3 of my hands $150 a piece. So my labor cost was $450. Overall, my job cost was $1,750 to operate and successfully complete this job. and the ticket price for this job was $7,448. So $7,448 minus $1,750 in profit, walking away after labor and job cost is $5,698.
Right, which isn't a bad day, right? If we could do that every single day, that'd be pretty good. Now, if you had the
And
bandwidth to do so,
I'll say this. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's way. Look, we were able to do that in a few hours. You know, we pulled up at I think 8:45. We pulled up at 8:45. We pulled out of that property at 3:30.
absolutely. So when we talk about how big of an opportunity parking lot striping is, like I think this is a clear example of that. And so if you guys haven't already, be sure to check out the How to Stripe course. It'll be the first link in the comment section description. If you want to go out and actually see if this is something that you want to do, you can go and do some in-person training with Chris. We'll have links for that down below as well. Because at the end of the day, you know, it's one thing to see it on YouTube. It's another thing to actually get out there and try to make it happen for yourself. And a lot of times in business, a lot of people don't make it because they don't know everything that's involved. And that's why we wanted to introduce some of this in-person training so you guys could actually get a feel. You could get on site, you could hold the machine, you could spray the paint, you could see every single facet that goes into that. So Chris, we talked a little bit about, you know, everything you guys did on the job, how you landed it, how you priced it, the obstacles, the equipment, what the job costs were for you. Is there anything else that we kind of want to mention with regards to this job, or anything else that would be a good takeaway for people watching this video?
Yeah, I would like to add a couple of things. First, a key takeaway is that having a belief that this is possible for you. And that's why Justin continues to talk about in-person training. We have guys that come for in-person training, and you know, we had Ryan that came from Texas for in-person training, who was thinking about franchising into a parking lot striping franchise. Instead of him joining a parking lot striping franchise, paying $5,000 to enter into their business model, as well as a 10% franchise fee for the rest of his life, he came and did some in-person training, got the skills that were necessary, got the How to Stripe course, got the marketing pack, got the legal pack, got lifetime access to the private community group that's going to help you level up, that's going to help you succeed, that's going to help you grow. He did not choose the franchise route, but he chose the independent route. And the resources that we give guys and the accessibility to the high quality level of training that helps them catapult into the next level is found within this training. So the possibilities of starting your own business, adding this as a business, and having these possibilities be open to you and unlocking that door. See, first, before the door is open, you got to knock. I mean, whenever you're going to somebody's house, or, you know, you're at somebody's door, you don't just stand at the front door and then just go, well, I hope somebody just opens this door eventually. No, what do? You walk up to the door and you knock. Well, if you want that door open to you, that possibility open to you to give you a new path, a new direction, a new way, you got to knock on the door. And what we're giving guys access to is not only the door, but also a way to knock. So once we give them the training, once we give them the possibilities, once we give them the mentorship, right? We don't just have in-person training, but we also have personalized, customized mentorship programs that we offer as well, right, Justin? Where they have access to us, they can reach out, we can help them scale, build, and grow. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We can offer a customized plan to help people get to that next level.
Absolutely. And the proof is in the pudding. Okay. So Chris had a student that did $150,000 this year. I think he had a previous one last year that did over $200,000. I mean, we're talking about the difference between guys working a job and quitting that job and taking a leap into this. So if it's something that you're interested in, be sure to check out the links below, because it's pretty much life changing. I know when I found Chris, it was, you know, he's a completely different person than the first time that I found him. Chris, let's jump into some of these questions. If you guys have questions, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll go ahead and jump into these. Chris, do you have an old striping machine for sale? Says Juan. He wants to know.
I might. It just depends.
Let's talk a little bit about this, Chris, because I think it's an important point for anybody wanting to get into parking lot striping. Obviously, I think this is we definitely cover this in the How to Stripe course, but finding an old machine, what do you recommend with regards to somebody trying to start on a budget? Should they go the used machine route, or should they do a couple jobs, hand rolling first and foremost, and then leverage that money into getting better equipment?
That's a good question. First, before just jumping into it, you've got to have the proper training, because if you use the wrong paint, you're going to mess something up. And certain paints are compatible with hand rolling while other paints are not. I mean, you don't want to just jump into it and go, well, just let me wing it, because you might mess something up. Invest in the training, invest in yourself, and get the proper training first. And then contained in that training, we walk you through the processes of your equipment, the machines, what to look for. I mean, I had a friend of mine who runs a striping company out of Florida. Guys, he's crushing it. But he started hand rolling, but his first machine that he ever bought, was a used machine. It was a 3400. He bought it for $3,000. He fired it up, sprayed water through it, and on the surface, everything looked fine. But when he got it back to the house, set it in his garage, he went and he sold a job. After that, he pulls it out of his garage, takes it to the job site, fills it up full of paint, and guess what? It doesn't run properly, because there are certain things that you need to look for as it pertains to buying new and used machines. And if you don't know what to look for, if you don't know what to see, if you don't know the signs of a failing pump, the signs of a piston wear, the signs of corrosion on certain aspects of the machine, if you don't know what to look for, then you might just buy a lemon, spend thousands of dollars like my friend did, and then when it comes time to do the job, not have the right materials for the job. So first thing I would do, get the training, learn how to do it, and then start off by hand rolling if you can't afford to get a bigger machine. I know guys that have sent me text messages. This is all I do. Okay. All I do is talk about striping. If I'm not striping in the field, I'm making striping videos. I'm talking about striping, doing striping marketing for other people, striping mentorships. This is all we do. And I talked to a guy who essentially was able to start his business by hand rolling. His first job, his very first job that he ever sold, was a $5,000 job. Why? Because he had the right training, but he didn't do it with a machine. He did it by hand rolling.
Okay, sweet. So it's kind of one of these instances where, you don't buy a beater because you don't know it's probably road wet and put up dry or whatever. I'm just kidding. It's probably rode hard and put away wet. So instead, it's better to just go ahead and invest in yourself first and foremost on the training end, do the jobs with the roller, and then reinvest that money. So that way you know that what you're buying is taken care of. The other thing is what you're buying could have a warranty on it. When you buy something secondhand like that, anytime you cut corners, you're also leaving yourself more at risk for more bad things to happen. Okay. I think guys think, oh, if I save the money here, I'm going to be better off down the road. Well, no, that's not always the case. Sometimes you're actually worse off down the road. So, I think you're right, Chris. If you buy the machine new, not only do you know where it's been, what's been ran through it, but you'd also probably get a warranty with it. And so that way, if you needed to return it or get it worked on, that could happen. Were you able to get a warranty on your machines, Chris?
There is it depends on what type of machine you get. I mean, if you get a Titan, one thing that I will say this about the Titan is that there is a lifetime warranty on the pump, which is phenomenal. There's no piston in the Titan 3500, for example. That was the first machine that I started with, was the Titan 3500. It's a wonderful machine. It's my latex machine. We spray latex traffic paint through it. And it's a very, very durable machine for sure.
Okay, excellent. How do you clean the machine after a stripe job? What machine is easiest to clean, and does it ruin the machine if you leave paint in there?
Sure, that's a very, very good question. You want to clean your machines with depending upon the paint compatibility is how you're going to clean your machine. If you're using a latex or a waterborne paint, you're going to clean it one way. If you're using a solvent borne or a oil base, you're going to clean it another way. And you can leave paint in the machine if you're striping every day. I wouldn't do it with a latex paint. I would do it with a solvent-borne paint. We use solvent-borne for the most part, unless we're striping over seal coat. So it doesn't ruin it to leave paint in the machine. You just got to leave it pressurized. It's got to be pressurized. So after you get done striping and you're using the solvent-borne paint, leave the machine pressurized. Don't undo the pressure, and it's going to make the packings go out. I mean, a lot faster if you're using a 3900, 3400, whatever the case may be. It does wear out the packings. So I would just, if you're going to do that and you don't want to waste, 20 minutes setting it up, 20 minutes taking it down, then just leave the pump pressurized, and then just be ready to change out your packings every year, if not every 6 months. That's why our other machine's down right now.
Absolutely. So if you guys want more information, more in-depth training in the field, on site, check out the How to Stripe course, first link in the comment section and the description. Alex also asked, how much do you charge per linear foot? I don't know if we want to dig into that in this one, Chris. We have a lot of pricing videos. Do you want to talk a little bit about linear foot pricing?
Yeah, I can talk about it. With bigger jobs, you're going to want to stay at a linear foot rate. Obviously, I'm not able to factor in your supply cost, your overhead, your employee cost, your machines, your equipment, where you're at, your location, because there are guys in Canada that say that, 40 cents is too high. And there are guys in Texas that say, 30 cents is too low, right? So there is a wide spectrum of the pricing range. And that's one of the things that we talk about in the How to Stripe course. People that get access to the course are going to get infield training that shows you how to price large commercial jobs. You're going to get a pricing guide, and it kind of gives you a pricing breakdown. Like if you stay between here and here with your pricing structure, the chances of you getting that job greatly increase. But there are several ways to determine your pricing structure. Like I was saying earlier in the live, a smaller job, right? Like a doctor's office, dentist office, or just a mom and pop shop. Obviously, you don't want to charge a linear foot price, because if you're charging $7 a line and that property has 7 lines, I mean, and you've got an employee or a helper, and then you got your paint, you got an employee, a helper, and you're charging $7 a line. Obviously, it's not going to be compatible to make $49 off of the trip. So in a case like that, you would want to uh uh have a mobilization charge. Whenever I first got started, I would just do any job that any job opportunity that came up, I would go and do it. It didn't matter how big it was. It didn't matter, how big it was. It didn't matter how much pain it cost me. I was just eager for that opportunity. And that there are some ways you can leverage that, but for the most part, your market is different than everybody else's, and that's something that you're going to have to determine for yourself. But we do give you the foundational pricing steps and structure within the How to Stripe course.
Excellent. And if you guys need a better way to, measure out your square footage, obviously check out QuoteIQ. It is $1 at myquoteIQ.com. We'll have links down below. The biggest thing is, though, is just like Chris said, he doesn't know what your pricing is. He doesn't know where you're at. He doesn't know how many leads you have coming in. For Chris, like, if we gave you the linear foot pricing on this particular job, it'd probably be through the roof. It'd be way more than what Chris would probably charge on any other job, just because he didn't want to land it. Like, he didn't really care if he landed it. So when you put yourself in a position like that, you can charge incredibly more than, a situation where you need every single job. In that case, you'd be somewhere around $1.50 or whatever the case may be. But for this one, like I said, if we were to take a look and measure out this linear footage and say, okay, what did Chris charge? I'm sure it'd be pretty ridiculous with regards to, what he typically charges. Okay, we got a couple other questions for you, Chris. Thoughts on Rust-Oleum sprayers?
I mean, I've never personally used a Rust-Oleum sprayer, but I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to it to somebody who's wanting to get started. Just to acquire a couple of customers. I mean, there's a guy that I know personally that started with a Rust-Oleum, and his second year he did $100,000. So the possibilities are endless as far as, but in the long run, I mean, there's a difference between a guy who has a hobby and then someone who's trying to build a legitimate company to scale it to get to that next level. So just keep that in mind, that the Rust-Oleum isn't going to be the way to go for larger commercial jobs.
Okay, excellent. Last question that we have here, Chris. Hello from Canada. I'm considering getting started with hand rolling. Any ways to increase speed for taping lines? Also, any pointers on type of paint for hand roll and cold weather?
Well, first I want to say congratulations for getting started. You are embarking on a journey that a lot of other people will not do. They just simply will not do it. They won't get started. And the hardest part about the journey is just getting started. But if the destination is 1,000 miles away and you've only got a quarter of a tank of gas, you're not going to make it there unless you have the necessary components to get you there. So you can get started with a quarter tank of gas, but just have a good understanding that if you want to make it to your destination, you're going to have to fill the tank up a couple of times before you get there. So first, congratulations on getting started. Philip, grab How to Stripe. If you want a special discount code right now, you can just text me. My number's in the YouTube channel. Send me a text message, and then I will give you a significant cheaper deal on How to Stripe if you reach out to me personally, because I want to help you get started.
I
Hand
want to
rolling.
contribute to this real quick, Chris. I want to just draw a parallel. It'd be like if you were trying to paint a room, and the difference between you having professional equipment and hand rolling would be like the difference between you trying to hand brush the whole room and having like a sprayer, right? Like you're just going to be light years behind where you could be, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get started there. The biggest thing is you don't want to stay there for very long. You want to reinvest in your equipment, reinvest in your education, and reinvest in everything else that's going to allow you to do the job faster so you can take on bigger jobs and you can also ultimately become more profitable. Wouldn't you say so, Chris?
I would say 100%. Yeah. And I just wanted to follow up something, if you don't mind, before this question. You talked about the importance of your lead source information and having access to that data. That's one of my favorite things within Quote IQ, how it is structured in such a way to where it gives the business owner control, right? Like at a glance right now, I can see where all of my leads are coming from. I mean, remember whenever I got access to the platform, I told you how excited I was about Quote IQ and my lead source information.
Right.
As you see it right there, it's talking about your lead source, your Google referral, postcard, flyer, current customer. Can you scroll down a little bit so I can see?
Yep.
Okay, so this last year, for this account, so 176 leads were plugged in this Quote IQ account within the last year. So it's whenever you're having these active leads coming to you, then it makes all the difference. I mean, I wish you could see it, but in my Quote IQ account, I have 222 leads that came in this year, and 61% of those leads are from Google. 17% are from what we teach in the How to Stripe course, how to optimize a GMB profile, how to scrape business cards. I mean, all of that. So what I'm saying is within just this year alone, we've had 222 people that are reaching out to us. And as a service provider, as a business owner, this is the difference between a part-time guy and a guy who's out there grinding. Because whenever I'm fishing, right? If I'm fishing, I want to make sure I'm fishing in a pond with fish. I don't like to sit all day at a pond with no fish. I'm casting out my reel and I'm not catching anything. And I tell guys this all the time, especially whenever they enroll in our personal mentorship training program, that you have to be versatile in your aspects of customer acquisition, because with your lead source information. So if you're not getting any fish in one pond, that's what's so unique about How to Stripe, is the fact that you have access to 6 or 7 ponds that you can fish from to get customers, because striping is complex. We walk you through that process, but we not only walk you through that process, but we teach you how to produce the results and how to get customers from proven strategies. I mean, from guys who are crushing it, making big numbers within their business that started this year. The guy that you talked about that made 150K, that's at 150K, he started this year. He started this year
That's crazy.
from stuff that he learned in the How to Stripe course. And so as a result of the proper training, the proper community, surrounding yourself with the proper people, it levels you up to the next level and you can do things that you never thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Chris. Excellent. Do we want to finish answering this one?
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm sorry about that. I started getting excited whenever we start talking about helping people.
I love it, bro.
So he said, I am considering getting started with hand rolling. Yes, then most definitely. Any ways to increase speed for taping lines? I mean, not necessarily. I mean, if you're by yourself, you're going to be limited. You're going to have a helper with you. You can stretch out the tape. The fastest way is you're going to have a helper with you. There's no other way around it. And if a helper is with you, then you could essentially pull the tape, stretch it over the line. But if you're by yourself, you're going to have to stretch it, push it, stretch it, push it, stretch it, push it. So, find somebody that believes in you, like a friend of yours. You know what I mean? A friend that can kind of help you get started. Find someone that believes in you, and then say, "Hey, let's go out and do this together. Let's see if I can do it. Will you help me with this?" And then, that'd be the fastest way. Is you increase productivity when you have more people with you. That's why it's good to pay people to help you to increase productivity. So bring somebody out there with you, because that's going to be the fastest way to increase your speed.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and yeah, Chris, this was a great job. You landed it, and you did a great job with it. Made a ton of money. Anything else we want to add on this one before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just having that, just being consciously aware, having that sense of awareness, right? Like when you have multiple people calling you every day. Like, the reason why I got this job was not only because the Lord provides for me, right? Like He provides for me. I mean, it's a blessing to watch the Lord provide for me as His child. But not only that, is He gives you the wisdom to accomplish the job. So in James chapter number 1, it says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him." That means that James says you can pray for wisdom, and you can pray for wisdom to have the necessary skills and components to accomplish the purpose that is in front of you. And the Lord has so blessed us in such a way where it's like these customers they're just coming to us, and He's given the knowledge that's necessary to accomplish the desired outcome. And we have leads, tons of leads that are coming in every single day. I mean, I've gotten several phone calls today. Once we get done with this, I'm going to go look at a parking lot, and I looked at a parking lot this morning, and we stay so busy, and it's just a blessing. So I would definitely do that. If you're entertaining the idea, don't be scared. Don't be a skeptic. It's possible for you, and pray about it.
Excellent. Well, Chris, every guest that comes on the channel has picked the word of the day. Obviously, we're on your channel too, but what do you want the word of the day to be?
7K.
7K. If you guys made this far in the video, comment down below 7K. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button already, be sure to hit it for us. If you guys want any training, check out the links in the comment section description, how to stripe, in-person training. And yeah, until next time, hustle hard, get that money, baby. Peace.